Hello friends. This is Phoenix. What if? How are you all? So in this video, we will see what if Naruto fell in love with Nana Astar Deviluke and got ultimate harem. But before we start, if you want more amazing stuff like this, then be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Also, if possible, share this video with your friends. Now without wasting any more time, let's begin the story. Rito stared at his secret or not so secret depending on the person crush walk past the hallways of school. For the most part, Rito was a normal high school student. He did not really have any outstanding qualities of himself, nor did he have amazing physical strength that most would expect from a common shonen manga hero. His eyes were a slight golden brown and he was wearing the standard green pants and tie with a white undershirt and light tan blazer combo of the school he went to. The only feature about him that could be considered unique was his messy orange hair, an unusual color no matter where you were. Right now he was hiding behind a corner gazing at his crush, trying to muster the courage to confess to the purple-haired girl, Serenji Haruna. It was love at first sight for the boy, but he had yet to confess to the girl even after trying to muster up his courage for years. Frankly, his sister told him it was getting pathetic to see him act like that. Not that he could blame her. He was aware that hiding around the corner to watch a person he liked constantly could be misinterpreted as being a stalker. "Yo Rito. Are you done stalking Serenji again?" a voice from behind told him. Turning towards the voice, he saw his longtime friend Sarayama, who again tried to rile him up by poking fun of his unsuccessful attempts to confess to Haruna. "Who are you calling a stalker, you bastard?" Rito shouted at Sarayama. Not OOC, it's in the manga ch. 1. "So you weren't gazing at your beloved Haruna-chan like usual?" Sarayama asked him, stopping Rito in his tracks. No, Rito composed himself. "I was just waiting for the right timing," Rito responded. "Timing?" Saru said deadpanned. "I've decided, I'm going to confess to her today," Rito declared. After school. It had been a long time coming. Rito had liked Haruna since the 8th grade. When he got to high school and when they both had the same class, he was really happy. But he wasn't satisfied with that. Nothing would change if he did not admit his feelings to her. Unfortunately, his courage failed him. He kept putting it off, saying that it wasn't the right moment, but before he knew it, a year had passed and he had not moved at all. As he watched Haruna, who was too engrossed in her book to see him, he kept chanting to himself, "I can do it, I can do it." But when Haruna took her attention off the book and looked around, Rito was nowhere in sight. Off in the bushes, a crouching boy had a storm cloud over his head. "I can't do it." That was really embarrassing to watch Rito. He heard a voice from behind. He turned around to see his sister, Yuki Mikan, a rather attractive young woman with brown eyes and long brown hair that was done up in a slight ponytail that made the back top part of her head look like a pineapple. The hair that she didn't catch in her ponytail, which was quite a lot, was let down to flow behind her back, stopping at mid-back. She was wearing the female version of his school clothes. Despite being a year younger than her classmates, she had better curves than some of them. "Ah, Mikan. I thought you would be home by now," Rito said glumly. "I heard that you were going to confess today and decided to wait a bit. After all, as your sister I should have front row seats to your most embarrassing moments of your life." Mikan teased, holding her hand to her mouth to cover her grin. "Mikan," Rito yelled. "Remember that one time I found your arrow book?" Mikan said but was cut off. I get it, that's enough. No need to get embarrassed. It's a natural phenomenon that must occur," Mikan pointed out. "Please, just kill me," Rito muttered. "There's always next time, don't give up Rito. Fight." Mikan cheered her sulking brother up. She really had no idea how Rito ended up as bad with women as he was right now. For God's sake, he was 17. Either he was one of those pure types, which she knew he wasn't because of the amount of arrow books he's had, or he's just head over heels for the girl. She had no idea. But it wasn't like she could say anything about his current love life because... "Mikan, you okay? You look a bit red," Mikan's companion said, making her blush. She was just as hopeless as her brother in the love department. Said person was a young man wearing green pants and tie with a tan blazer. He had spiky blonde hair that went down to his shoulders, with 2 jaw-length bangs framing his face and a spiky fringe hovering over his eyes. Said eyes were blue and held a piercing quality that she liked. His eyes were clear and beautiful, She loved staring at them whenever she could. Perhaps the oddest feature about him were the 6 whisker marks on his face, 3 on each cheek, running horizontally across his face. Unusual, sure, but she thought they were cute. It's nothing, Naruto-kun," she said shyly. She mentally scolded herself for doing the same thing her brother had done. Uzumaki Naruto stood at a good 5 foot, 6 inches, one of the more taller students in school. She and Naruto had been childhood friends since they were 5 and 6 respectively, so their friendship was already a decade strong. When she first played with him, he was pretty lazy, tended to mutter things like troublesome, and his weird verbal tick, dadbayo. They saw each other often enough for kids that did not go to the same school. They usually met at a riverbank where Naruto would just stare at passing clouds. She played with him whenever she got tired of playing with Rito, who had his own clique of friends she did not fit in with. The sister of a friend was not an enjoyable title at a young age, rather it was embarrassing to hang around your sister at that age. Naruto didn't seem to mind. He joined her on whatever little adventure her young naive mind led her. It wasn't until she reached middle school did she learn that Naruto was in the same school as her and was a grade higher. It wasn't until he protected her from a bully did she start noticing him, and it wasn't until he fought a district's worth of bullies for her did she kind of get a crush on him. From then on she noticed how different he was from regular boys. He had plenty of friends, but he often chose to be around her. As corny as it may sound, it made her feel special. Since then, it has been a 2-year quest to confess to him. Unfortunately, she could never get the words out. "If you say so, Mikan," Naruto responded. Mikan let out a sigh. He could be so dense sometimes. "So how did Rito do today?" Naruto asked his childhood friend. "Another failure. It's painful to watch him now. My brother is hopeless," she said, exasperated. "You got to admire the guy though. All his failure and he's still trying," Naruto said. "All he's good at is useless things," Mikan muttered. "A guy that dedicated to a girl, it's only a matter of time," Naruto responded. "I guess you're right," Mikan said, slowly getting closer to the blonde. The blonde didn't notice. Her eye twitched, he was so dense. But then again, she never showed anything that might pass as anything beyond a close friendship. She really dug herself into the best friend, childhood friend hole. She sighed. She was just like her brother, totally hopeless in romance. They probably got it from their dad, he was always the emotional one. Nighttime. Uzumaki Naruto wondered what became of his life. One moment, he remembered dying in peace, surrounded by his children and finally joining his friends and wife. The next minute he wakes up in an orphanage with no memory of how he got there or where he was. They had told him that his parents had died in a car crash and he was sent to the orphanage. The whisker marks on his cheeks were a result of the accident. He pondered for days at what could have happened. He was an old man, still a bit impatient, but he had seen things, mysterious things that seemed almost like God-like interference. There could be many ways he could have ended up here, so he settled for one thing. Reincarnation. Or was it soul merging? Frankly, he did not care. All he knew is that he was a young boy again and he lived in a world where technology prevailed and there was no trace of chakra, or at least people that could use it like back in the elemental nations. But for whatever reason, for whatever Kami was looking out for him, he had a spark of chakra. It was a pathetic amount, civilian level, but it was there. It had been ingrained to him, never stop training, so that was what he did. He trained when he was not going to school, or cloud watching. It felt good to be able to move as much as he wanted and do what he wanted. He decided that the memories of Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto was a memory better left in the past, because it was filled with blood. He was Uzumaki Naruto, an orphan who would live a decent life. From there he met sweet little Yuki Mikan. Despite his rather lethargic attitude around her due to his training, which was hard considering his body wasn't built the same way, she would not let him enjoy a quiet life. Their little adventures were fun. He was a child again. In fact, he was a child again. It might be selfish, but he wanted to enjoy his childhood, the one he never got. Of course, eventually his personality would take over and his natural hero complex kicked in. When he was people being bullied, he kicked ass. From there he gained the moniker, Yellow Flash, ironically. From there, he ran into Mikan in school and it turned out, he was her Kahai. So like any responsible senpai, when he found out that she was being picked on, he came and rescued the day. When he reached their last year in middle school, it turned out that Mikan skipped a grade and they had the same classes. From then on, it was hard to see them apart from each other. Mikan grew to be an attractive girl, he would admit that. He could feel something for her, he already knew that, but he was not sure he was looking for a relationship at the time. Considering his relationship with Sakura, he was not eager to fall in love at a young age. But the feelings were there, so he would have to deal with it soon. But he was mostly apathetic to everyone. He had to. His 5-year-old body could not handle the raw emotion of countless deaths at his hands, an emotionally traumatic past that would shatter many men. So he had to numb himself to the emotion, the feelings, until his mind could handle it. It was such a pain to do, but it had to be done. Only recently did his mental capacity allow his emotions to come back. Damn it. He was thinking too much. He missed Kurama, at least he would tell him when to shut up. Right now he was laying in the tub, laying in cold water. While he liked a nice hot shower, cold baths were just as good, especially during the summer. He leaned back in the tub and closed his eyes, almost wanting to fall asleep in the tub. He decided to get out of the tub before he falls asleep and drowns. Getting out of the tub and putting on a towel, he started to reach for the tap to let the water out before he noticed a soft glow beneath the water's surface. In what seemed like an explosion of water, Naruto jumped back to get some distance on whatever caused the explosion. Looking at his bathtub, no words could describe the sheer randomness of what just happened. He was taking a bath, then all of a sudden, a naked girl pops out. Not only that, she was hot. The highly attractive teenage girl had long bubblegum pink hair, emerald green eyes, and a curvaceous, almost perfect, hourglass figure. Her most distinguishing feature was the tail, which extends down from the base of her back. It was long, thin, and ended with a heart-shaped tip. It seemed to move behind her at random, and Naruto couldn't help but wonder if it was real or not. Escape successful. The girl cried out. Then a second later, she hugged herself. Cold, she said, holding herself because of the cold temperature of the bath. And Naruto, he was a bit dazed at watching the girl's harden, but he quickly snapped out of it. He was a teenager, he had seen more via internet. The girl smiled, as if the current situation did not matter or she ignored it. Hello, she said cheerfully. Naruto couldn't hold back a chuckle. He got a free show and she didn't mind. So, your name is Lala Deviluke and you came from the planet Deviluke, meaning you are an alien. Am I right so far? Naruto asked. Lala nodded. And since your last name is Deviluke and the planet is named Deviluke, I'm guessing you're a princess, right? He said. Right, Lala said. And you ran away from home because you were going to be forced into something you didn't like, right? He asked once more. Exactly. Lala exclaimed. She was amazed. He managed to piece that much from only getting her name and the name of her planet. Oh sure, she didn't like that she was found out so soon, but the boy across from her was amazing. Right after coming out of the bath, Naruto lent the wet girl one of his shirts. That only helped a bit as it made her look a bit more seductive without wanting to. He was lucky that the girl had a cheerful attitude, or else he wasn't sure how long he would last. At the moment, they were sitting across the table from each other, trying to figure out what to do next. So, what are you going to do? Naruto asked. Can I stay here for a while? She asked. He seemed like a nice guy. Sure. Naruto responded. This was the biggest thing that had happened and he wasn't about to lose his latest entertainment. But won't your parents mind? She asked, tilting her head. I live alone. Parents died years ago, he said simply. He didn't really know them, so as far as he knew, they were just random people. Ah. Sorry. Lala said, her tone softening. It's fine. Naruto said. So how did you get into my bathtub anyways? Naruto asked, changing the topic. Ah. That was because of Pion Pion Warp-kun. I made it in case I needed escape. I can't choose where to go though. Lala said sheepishly. Then why were you naked? Naruto asked. It doesn't teleport clothes, silly. Lala said as if it was the most common thing in the world. This girl is gold. If Ero Sennin was still alive, he would be praying to Kami for such a gold mine, Naruto thought. So why did you run away from home? Naruto asked. He knew many reasons a princess would run from her country or planet in this case. He already rescued plenty of them, so it wasn't like he cared unless it was the typical plotline for some harem manga where I ran away from home because I didn't want to get married. I have to sit through arranged marriages every day. I hate it, the girl said. Oh my god. This is like a setting for a shonen harem manga, Naruto thought. Right now he was watching the girl in front of him vent her frustration, which was done in a rather cute manner. After her little breakdown, Lala was huffing and puffing, and looking oddly more cheerful than before. Ah, that felt great, thanks for listening, Lala thanked the blonde. Naruto nodded, looking over the information that he got from the girl's rant. She was rather vocal when she was angry it seemed, or rather, she couldn't keep her mouth shut when she was angry and said things she shouldn't have. But either way he got the full story. No problem. You can stay here until you figure out what you want to do, Naruto responded. Really? Thank you, she said, hugging the blonde. Naruto had to try and keep his composure in check due to the half-dressed, wet girl smashing her breast against him body. Damn it. If he wasn't a reincarnated married man with hot, kinky, passionate sex already under his belt, he would have been blushing like a schoolboy. Rito. Yes, he knows he is using his best friend's brother's name as an insult. Say, Naruto-kun, no, I will not marry you to get you away from your arranged marriages, Naruto interrupted. Meanie. Next day. Light entered through his room, piercing though the openings of his bedroom curtain. Naruto stirred from his sleep where he could have sworn he met a pink-haired alien on the run, but that was just a dream, right? NGH, he heard from his side. It sounded like, ing. Opening his eyes, he saw a shock of pink hair, leaning on his shoulder. His memories started coming back to him. It was Lala, the alien girl that somehow ended up in his bathtub who at the moment was moving rather erotically. He wondered why. As soon as he realized it was morning, he instinctively rose his arms up to stretch only to squeeze something and draw aloud from the alien girl. He turned his attention to what he was holding only to find a tail. Whose tail? Lala's. Giving it an experimental squeeze, he drew another from the now awake but half-dazed alien. MMGH, my, oh, tail, she wheezed out. Part of his really wanted to see how far he could take it. What guy wouldn't? A tail that was ultra-sensitive and apparently made a hot alien girl horny. You'd have to be an idiot or have ironclad will to not fall to temptation. Naruto was the latter. Letting the girl's tail slip out of his hands, he allowed himself a brief second to recompose himself and let the girl calm herself down from her sensitive state. Morning, Naruto-kun. Lala said, yawning and stretching herself. At some point in the night, the shirt she borrowed slid up above her breast and at the moment was giving Naruto yet another free show. It would be so easy to fall in love with her, Naruto thought. Lala was not his type, she was too cheerful and a bit too naive for him to be his type. Honestly, he preferred a bit of spitfire in the girls he liked. But it would be easy to fall in love with Lala. Her cheerful and her over-affectionate attitude would eventually win you over. Morning, Lala. Let's head down and get a bit of breakfast. After that, I'm going to school, so you need to stay here until I get back. Okay? Naruto asked. The girl nodded, rubbing her eyes to get used to the sunlight, out of it because she was still sleepy. Lala was a surprisingly obedient girl when asked to do something. He quickly noticed that she might have been a bit too eccentric in her duties, which caused her to trip over herself, but she was a hard worker. He could definitely like those types of people. Hey Naruto-kun, it's time for school. Naruto heard from the door, most likely Mikan. Be out in a minute, he yelled, rapidly eating his food. Naruto-kun, what school? Lala asked, wondering what school was. I'll tell you when I come back, Naruto responded, receiving a nod from the girl. Hey Mikan. We've been friends for 10 years, right? Naruto asked suddenly. Mikan tilted her head in confusion. The blonde often did start random conversations out of nowhere. At first she did listen to them, but the blonde tended to ramble about other things. Somehow though, she always looked forward to the spontaneous meetings. They were interesting and it was great entertainment. If I told you that I met an alien yesterday, what would you say? Naruto asked her. Mikan blinked. That was rather way off track to what she was used to, but decided to go with the flow. I would say that I hope you took advantage of such a prestigious honor, she said. Really, what were you supposed to say to a friend that claimed to have met an alien? Go see a doctor? And what if said alien suddenly appeared in the bathtub via a random teleportation device? Naruto added. Mikan wasn't sure where he was heading with this. I would panic for a while before trying to cope somehow. Mikan said truthfully. It was a bizarre scenario, but at the moment she was still thinking about horror movie aliens that eat humans. And what if the alien looked human, was hot and ran away from home because she was a princess and did not want to get married in an arranged marriage? Naruto added further. As a woman, I would say more power to her, and as a man I would be in heaven for such an impossible scenario happening, and as your childhood friend, I would give you the cold shoulder for months if you took advantage of that and call you a pervert any time I could. Mikan responded. She didn't mind him being a pervert. A small part of her would admit that she would want him to look at her that way, but everyone was had those kinds of thoughts. At least he wasn't an open pervert like that perverted monkey that was friends with her brother. No, Naruto was an opportunity pervert where if the situation was open to him to ogle or enjoy, he would. I see. Naruto hummed. Mikan rose an eyebrow. That didn't really happen, did it? Mikan asked. Anything is possible. Naruto responded, walking ahead of the girl. Uzumaki Naruto, get back here, yelled the girl, chasing after the now running boy. Her feminine instincts were kicking at the moment, telling her that something was going on at the moment and she would not like it. She was not sure what the blonde was trying to say. Was he getting married? Was he going to move suddenly? Was some sort of amazingly attractive female going to move in with him, fall in love with him, and then take him away from her to some foreign land where they would have many children together and live happily ever after? Not on her watch. She got her imagination from her father too. Mikan was a sweet girl. She was responsible, nice, and an all-around ideal wife material should she ever settle down. Everyone that knew her knew that. She had been picked on before, but nothing too drastic, just a few skirt flippers during middle school in a vain attempt to draw her attention. She was a heartthrob to many young adolescent boys. Of course, the problem with teenagers is that they do not think while their hormones are talking, which leads to them becoming fanboys. Fortunately for Mikan, she had her knight in shining armor. Uzumaki Naruto was synonymous with the word bad boy, which was funny because he did not even try. Uzumaki Naruto was lazy, but smart, because he knew more than half the courses from his last life. He was definitely athletic, many girls could verify that. He was referred to the female population as bad boy because of his whisker marks, which many assumed were tattoos, only to get the explanation that it was from an accident that caused him his parents. He lived alone and got into lots of fights. So with the tragic backstory with scars present forever marring his face, in girls' opinion, making him look sexier, while taking his anger out on bullies, the whole bad boy title was firmly established. When Naruto and Mikan found out, they laughed their asses silly. The fights he got into were mostly fanboy perverts, which a bit less than half were stalking Mikan, and the rest took any opportunity to see breast and calm their hormones with a little violence. Naruto became the undisputed king of gangs, much to his ire. He honestly did not realize the number of bullies, or when they became gangsters, that he unintentionally conquered the city's population of troublemaking children. Of course, being Naruto, he commanded them to focus on studying rather than create trouble. If not, he'd beat them down himself. As a result, majority of gangster violence went down and only newly minted troublemakers didn't get the message, but that was fine for Naruto, he couldn't control everything. Funny enough, they referred to Mikan as mistress. He couldn't eye Mikan without erupting into laughter for a month. Mikan tried to have it changed to something else, but it was either Ansama or being called Naruto's wife, and either was more embarrassing for her, so she let it drop. So at the moment, the city was peaceful. Even a naked person running around would not upset the community. In fact, they might get away with it. At the moment, Naruto was receiving word that rather strange individuals with black suits were scouring the town. What should we do, Oyabun? A student gangster, who while looked the part was in the top 50s in the school, much to his parents' joy, asked Naruto. Leave them be. I know who they are and what they're looking for, and no one in the group except a certain few can challenge them. Tell everyone to stay away from them, under no circumstance are they to attack. Respond in a courteous manner, no need to be barbarians. After all, we're cultured men. Naruto told his minion. Hi, Oyabun. A chorus of voices were heard, their leader's orders were clear. They rushed to pass on the information. Naruto leaned back and closed his eyes. How the hell did he become an Oyabun? Thank God he wasn't evil or anything, otherwise he might have ruined the town, and the town was way too peaceful to deal with that kind of violence. He felt a cold touch of a can against his cheeks. Opening his eyes, he saw Rito,
holding a can of soda against his cheeks.
Yo. Rito said. Hey Rito, what's up? Naruto asked. Rito shrugged. Nothing much. I still can't believe that my sister hangs around a mob boss. Rito snickered. Naruto glares at him after gulping down the beverage. Keep laughing, I'll just hang flyers everywhere giving extraordinary detail about your love for Haruna-senpai. Naruto commented. Rito laughed nervously before clapping his hands together. I'm kidding. Naruto and Rito's relationship was built on Naruto getting Rito's ass out of the fire and Rito's overprotectiveness of Mikan. Unfair relationship, they knew that, but then again a lot of friendships are like that. So, what did you want? Naruto asked the orange-haired boy. Advice. Rito asked bluntly. For Haruna? He offered advice a long time ago but Rito rejected. Maybe he was desperate now? Yeah. Naruto sighed. The guy just could not bring himself to confess. Alright, how about tomorrow? I'll meet up with you, and be right next to you when you confess. I'll hold you down if you try to run away and I'll tell her if you can't, Naruto said. It isn't that easy. Rito murmured. Naruto shrugged. Well, either way, you're not going to get anywhere at this rate, so might as well get it over with. Why yeah. Rito replied. Don't worry Rito, I'm sure that it will all work out. Back home. Welcome back Naruto-kun, Lala says, glomping Naruto. I'm back. What's up Lala-chan? Naruto asked the pink-haired girl. The hugs from the girl hurt like hell. Nothing. It was boring here, there wasn't anything to do, she said, sighing sadly.
Oh, sorry about that, I should have at least left the TV on. By the way, is Pion Warp-kun recharged yet? Naruto asked.
Yup, just finished, she said, brandishing the device into the air. Good, because I heard that some people were looking through the city, black suits, rather big guys, look like they don't mess around. Naruto summarized. Ah, they found me, I think. Lala concludes. I think it would be better if you... Crash. What was that? Naruto turns the direction a window shatters. Oh no, they found me. Go Pion Warp-kun. Lala yells out. Lala-chan. Wait. Naruto calls out, but unfortunately, it was too late. Lala had teleported to God knows where. Lala-sama. Where are you? Naruto heard a voice from behind. Turning around, he sees some sort of white little robot man floating in midair. He wasn't sure what it was but it didn't look like it posed a threat.
Lala-chan just left, she thought you were the bad guy. Naruto told the robot thing. No harm in telling it, he didn't know where she went.
Oh no. I just missed her. The robot cried out, flying away through the broken window. Good luck. Naruto said. He saw black-suited men chasing after the robot, from a distance. Naruto was tempted to chase after them but he had no idea how far Lala teleported so it was no use chasing after them. For all he knew, she was on the other side of the world. Besides, what were the chances of her teleporting to someone he knew? Later that night, knock 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 Naruto went towards the door. He had just finished taking a bath and was now going to make himself some dinner. He got a phone call earlier that there was some destruction at a park nearby but nothing serious. He assumed that it dealt with aliens somehow. It was funny how quickly he accepted the whole alien business. Naruto opened the door to show a happy Lala wearing skin-tight purple spandex-like material with some white cloth, armor-looking bits covering various parts of her body with a skirt attached to it. On her head was a ridiculously oversized hat with some kind of spirals on it with rather odd-looking wings. She looked weird, but it was a sexy kind of weird. I'm back, Lala said, waving her hands frantically. Naruto stayed silent for a minute. He was not expecting to see Lala anytime soon. He especially wasn't expecting to see a super happy Lala wearing some alien clothing anytime soon. Welcome back. You seem awfully happy. Did something good happen? Naruto asked Lala, who was off in her own happy land, walking in and seating herself on the couch. Ehehe. Not telling, she replied, humming to herself in satisfaction. Sigh. Fine. By the way, did you find a little robot thing on your way here? He broke my window and asked if you were here. Unfortunately you teleported or warped, whatever it's classified as, Naruto asked. Are you referring to me? A voice said, strangely from Lala's direction. Did you say anything Lala? Naruto asked, receiving a no from Lala? It was Peek. Lala said. Peek, me. A voice came from Lala's hat. Did your hat just talk? Naruto asked. Peek isn't a hat. He's a costume robot. Lala said, pointing at her hat. Why do you even, are you wearing at least? How does that even? Sigh Lala, you're going to be the death of me. Naruto sagged down in his sewn spot on the couch. The girl seemed to redefine his known perception of science and smash it to pieces. She also had a hand in expanding his perception of a person's decency. Even Anko, as far as he knew the women, did not blatantly walk around letting people look at her bare chest, she at least wore a fishnet underneath. So, what happened? Naruto asked. Well, Lala trailed off. And then I came here. Lala cheered. Naruto had his face covered with a pillow, he was covering his face. He was not sure whether to be stricken with irony or laugh his ass off. Of all the people, of all the places to teleport to, of every other place she could have been, she had to teleport into Rito's bath, while he was in it. Naruto couldn't decide if Rito was a lucky bastard or just an unfortunate clumsy kid with some of the worst kind of luck he's ever seen. Rito sure does land himself into an absurd amount of trouble, Naruto chuckled to himself. Rito? You know Rito too? Lala excitedly questioned. Yeah, I've known him for years. Naruto said. What's he like? Lala asked. Oh, got a crush on him? Naruto asked. Lala shrugged. Might be. Or it may be a hero complex. Lala said. She was smart, naive but smart. Fair enough. Next day, Naruto woke up once again with a sleepy Lala in his bed. Deciding not to bother with the alien, he slipped away to perform his routine hygiene schedule. It got him thinking for a bit. What in the hell was he thinking housing an alien? She was a freaking princess from some super powerful planet if her hugs, put emphasis on hugs, were any standard of strength testing. At first, it was funny but now, he wasn't sure what to do. He was housing an escapee princess, not the strangest thing he's done but this time he has no allies. Well, allies that can put up a fight. He was relieved that Lala left in the morning saying she had something to do. So at the moment he was walking besides Mikan and Rito, having a nice conversation while Rito was fidgeting a lot, knowing what was going to happen. Mikan had just been informed of the forced confession that was just going to happen and she was looking forward to it. If Rito could confess his love to the girl he liked then she as well could do the same to the boy she liked. They continued their journey to school until Rito froze in shock. Naruto looked at him as Rito almost stopped breathing. He followed the teen's sight and saw that he was looking at Haruna again. The girl was walking to school alone as Naruto sighed and looked at Rito once again. Okay big guy, this is it. You won't get anywhere without telling her how you feel. All you need right now is a little courage. Naruto patted his shoulders and pushed him forward. Rito took a gulp of air before recomposing himself, steeling his resolve. He slapped his cheeks before giving a small battle cry that he muttered to himself. He was definitely in the zone. It also helped that Sarayama only teased him, draining his confidence. Sarenji, he cried out, running towards the startled girl. Why yes, Yuki-kun? The short-haired girl replied, a soft pink staining her cheeks. She wasn't expecting Rito so early in the morning. Sarenji, there is something I need to tell you, Rito told her. The girl in front of him suddenly got a bit nervous. She had never seen Rito so aggressive before. She had to admit, it was a nice change of pace for someone usually so timid and nice. Naruto leaned against the wall in anticipation. Mikan was looking over his shoulders in anticipation. If her clumsy brother could manage a confession, she could too. Haruna, who was looking at Rito, was about to say something before she noticed a looming figure in the sky, descending on them. Rito bowed, not noticing the figure land right in front of him and shouted. I've liked you since I first met you. Will you please go out with me? Rito could swear that he felt time stop. He said it, he finally said it, the words he's been wanting to say for years. He looked up, hoping to see the girl he was in love with face, to see her give a hopefully positive response, only to see a familiar shock of pink hair. Lala? He asked distracted. His curiosity got the better of him and called out the girl's name. Oh, we were thinking the same thing. That's perfect, Lala said, looking extremely happy. Rito managed to stutter out, along with the utterly confused Haruna. Then let's get married, Rito, Lala cried out, hugging the now utterly clueless boy. Was now said by Rito, Mikan, and Naruto. Why are you, and wait, marriage, Rito cried out. I'm happy for you Yuki-kun, Haruna said, her eyes looking almost empty. Wait, Sarenji, Rito cried out as Haruna started to walk away. Naruto, snapping out of his shock, decided that everything was blown way out of proportions and interfere in this love comedy scenario that seemed almost impossible. Hold on, Haruna, come here. Lala, let go of Rito. Rito, good job. Nice effort, bad timing. And Mikan, Naruto trailed off. Yes. Mikan said, appearing next to Naruto. What the hell is wrong with your brother? It's like someone is trying to make him the main character in some love comedy, Naruto said. Mikan nodded. Her brother seemed to get stuck in some weird events of increasingly more perverted scenarios lately, like tripping and somehow pulling a girl's panties down or being hit by a projectile and landing square between a girl's legs, getting an eyeful of panties. It's almost like watching a car crash. It isn't pretty but you can't look away, Mikan commented. Okay. Haruna, this is how it happened, and Lala, don't think I don't know what you were planning, Naruto said. Lala pouted. Rito, finally getting his bearings, walked next to Haruna nervously. You know her? He said, pointing at Lala. Yes, Naruto said, before starting his explanation. He could almost feel the amount of trouble the pink-haired alien would bring in the coming days. Pink-haired people are troublesome, and that is how we are in this comedy-like scenario, Naruto stated. At the moment, they were on the rooftop of the school. How? Naruto called one of his minions to open the roof door in order to have some privacy as it is locked at night. Quickly running to school, or rather, being carried by Lala with her flying costume robot. How it worked Naruto had no idea. They arrived on the roof where Naruto told his side of the story, and Rito shared his side of the story. So I did see you jumping across rooftops yesterday. I thought I was imagining things. Haruna muttered out loud. She thought she was hallucinating seeing him on top of a roof. She pondered at that moment if she was going crazy for Rito. Wait a second, that Zastan guy saw Rito, so most likely they'll be after him to get to Lala. Mikan said, sending warning glances at Rito, whom looked nervous. It was certainly a new level of trouble her brother had gotten Ed into. It is very likely. What's Zastan good at anyways? He sounds like some personal guard or something. Naruto asked the pink-haired girl. Lala put her finger up to her chin and closed her eyes, indicating she was thinking. He's the best swordsman in Deviluke, also he's my bodyguard. But he has bad luck and bad sense of directions. Lala said. She liked Zastan. He's been with her and her sisters since she could remember. He could be boring and annoying but he was as close to a brother that she had or maybe a weird uncle. Rito gulped and pointed at himself. So, I have an elite swordsman with alien technology after me? He said, his lips twitching. Haruna looked like she wanted to comfort the boy. Yup. Lala said simply. Rito looked like he wanted to pass out. He felt a weight on his shoulders. Turning, he looked to see that it was his little sister who had her hand on his shoulder. Rito, Mikan, can I have your room when you die? She asked innocently. Mikan. Rito yelled out in desperation. Mikan meanwhile was laughing up a storm which brought many to a hearty chuckle, as was everyone except Rito, who was the target, and Lala, who got the joke but was utterly confused by it.
Sorry Rito, Mikan said, snickering. Anyways, this is serious. For now let's go to classes. We can't do much right now anyways. Naruto agreed. For now, I'll take Lala to the infirmary. All you guys go back to class. Not you Rito, or Haruna-senpai. Naruto said quickly, getting the two teenagers' attention. I think now's as good a time to say what you want to Rito. He said, grabbing Lala by the arm. Lala, who looked confused at the older teenagers, looked confused.
Nay, Naruto. What are they going to do? She said. Something they should have done a long time ago, Mikan said, walking in pace with the blonde and the pinkette. They left behind two red-faced teenagers who were trying to look at anywhere but at themselves.
Naruto had always thought that the school nurse was not what she appeared to be. Oh sure, most would look at her insanely curvy body or ogle her voluptuous bust, or even fall prey to her sexy smile, but not Naruto. He had been subjected under women who were literally trained in the art of sexiness, and while the nurse was up high in the sexy graph, Natural talent could only go so far.
No, Naruto looked at the anomalies around the women, the history that was fabricated, the odd people that went into her mansion, and the fact that she had pointy ears and had highly advanced medical equipment also added to that. It was not Naruto's business. While everything could be explained with a bit of unreasonable logic, she could have inherited the mansion, she could have that mutation that causes people to have pointy ears, she could just be a super scientist and made the medical equipment, and she might be a whore, but he then erased that last thought and substituted it with maybe she was receiving patients in her home. Her forged family registry showed that it was more likely that she was in hiding, sort of. But either way, the woman was unusual, but he never dug deep enough to actively find out what she was hiding. That is, until now. Aliens existed, then that mean that it was far more likely that they lived among them. He was not one to jump to conclusions. Well, he was, but that was only his gut feeling, and his gut feeling was telling him that she was an alien. He needed to leave Lala somewhere, and that was it. Could he trust the school nurse? Hell no, but Lala wasn't a pushover and he already marked her with a Hiraishin formula on her. Sliding the door to the nurse's office, he let Mikan and Lala in first. "Ah, Uzumaki-kun, Yuki-san, how can I help you?" the nurse asked. Mikado was a bombshell, no doubt about it. More than a few students harbored a crush on the school nurse with killer looks with a large chest. While Naruto would like to say that he knew the women at least a bit better than an acquaintance, both of them did not have much in common. Nonetheless, they were at a slightly bit higher than a student-teacher relationship. Mikado knew not to underestimate the blonde student. As young as he may be, he was apparently a Yakuza boss. She could, at first, peg him for a troubled child, but after observing him for a bit, it was all just an unfortunate event that came as a result of protecting his friend. She would tease him if she had the chance, but the boy knew more than he should know, as it was he was already suspicious of her, and that was something she did not need at the moment. However, he never made a move against that suspicion, so she figured as long as she did not aggravate the boy, all would be well. "Mikado-sensei, are you an alien?" Naruto said bluntly. "Oi, Naruto, that isn't." Mikan started to chastise Naruto. "Yes." Mikado replied, a bit of mirth in her eyes. It was no use hiding it now. "Yua." No hesitation. Mikan yelled out. "Lala Deviluke." Naruto added, pointing at the wandering pink-haired alien. "Yes. Stay? Okay. Hey, wait a minute. Is this one of those, I know that you know, kind of conversations?" Mikan asked, a bit angry that she was ignored, or maybe it was that she couldn't do the same with Naruto. "Danger?" Naruto ignored Mikan. "None." Mikado did the same. "Naruto." Mikan tugged his arm. "Yes, Mikan. What in the world just happened?" she asked, glaring at him. "I asked if she knew who Lala was and if she could stay and if it was safe," Naruto said, ignoring the glare. Mikan nodded, letting go whatever anger she gained. It was never good to hold a grudge, especially against Naruto. You'd find yourself laughing at his side before you realize it. "Lala, you're staying here until the end of school," Naruto said, pulling out his lunch for the day. "Here's lunch, I'll come back at the end of the day," Naruto told Lala. "Okay," Lala cheered. When Mikan and Naruto left, Lala whirled around and asked Mikado. "Nay, what is school?" she asked. If Mikado was not a scientist that taught her patience, she would have face-palmed. She thought to herself that things might start to pick up. It wasn't every day that the princess of the galaxy ends up sitting right in front of you. "Is it okay to leave Lala in there?" Mikan asked her blonde crush. "She'll be fine. If there's anyone that could help her understand a bit more of Earth, it's Mikado-sensei. If she can deal with hormonal boys injuring themselves to get her breast to graze their bodies, she can deal with a sweet but naive princess," Naruto said. "Ho?" Mikan said, looking at Naruto with a blank stare. "What?" Naruto asked. "Sensei's breast, they sure are big, aren't they?" She trailed off, her mood darkening. "She's an alien, who knows what those udders are used for in her species," Naruto said, trying to cheer up his friend. Mikan was a girl, and like many self-conscious girls, she wanted the kind of body that men or a specific man would drool over. While she was not as vain as a lot of girls were about their looks, she did pick up on things that Naruto liked. Big breast, how fit they were, their "don't fuck with me" attitude in the color red. Those were some of Naruto's likes on a woman. Mikan figured that all men liked breast, the bigger the better, still didn't mean she wished hers were bigger, but she figured it might have been a psychological thing for Naruto as they represented motherhood, something he didn't have. Naruto liked an active girl. He liked to move, so the same should be said for the girl he liked. He had a thing for strong women, the kind that go forward and do what they need to do. Long hair was also his interest. The biggest head turner for Naruto was the color red, red hair, red eyes, even red clothes got a quick glance from him. Sometimes Mikan wished she was a redhead, or at least had orange hair like Rito, at least that was Naruto's favorite color. Although naming her Mikan would have been too ironic. Mikan is an orange citrus fruit the size of a tangerine, get it? She was only one of the things he liked, and the only thing she could get were bigger breasts, and seeing as he was surrounded by bigger ones, she doubted he would notice hers anytime soon, which meant her road to love was that much longer. Damn friend zone. That's right, who knows what kind of body her planet's women get, Mikan said. She knew that Naruto was only trying to cheer her up, but why did he have to be so blunt when talking about a woman's body? It probably had to do something with raising himself. So how do you think Rito is doing with Haruna-senpai? Naruto asked. Naruto liked Haruna, she was sweet and always willing to help. All in all, she was an ideal senpai. I wonder, Mikan trailed off, she really hoped that Rito manned up this time, because if not, then she wasn't sure if she could honestly call him a man anymore. Bell ringing. It's time for class, we'll find out later, Naruto said, walking toward class. Mikan ran after him, keeping in sync with the blonde's speed. She got used to him doing whatever he wanted a while ago. For some reason, he absolutely despised being late for something.
Naruto may have been an old man when he died, but he never really mastered the art of patience. Even as an old man, he could still kick around his brats with an arm tied behind his back. Even when he was weak from old age, he continued to train. At that point, people realized what kind of stupidly broken clan the Uzumaki were. To stay as fit as he was at that old age and still be cage level was amazing. But unfortunately, give him a book and he'd fall asleep like an old geezer. Even in another life, he could not stay awake in an environmental educational institution, i.e. school put him to sleep.
At the moment, Naruto was dozing off in the corner of the back of the room, sleeping soundly. The teachers generally left him alone, a result of a combination of his high test scores, his so-called bad boy reputation, his random bouts of punching something when waking up, and sometimes, the teachers just not giving a damn. Mikan was pretty much the only one safe from his imaginary wrath. She at the moment was looking at Naruto sleep. It really ticked her off how he kept getting good grades. She would complain to him, but she was always for his stupid whiskered sleeping face. As the lunch bell rang, Naruto started to rouse from his sleep. Lunchtime already? Naruto yawned. Yeah. Come on, I'll share some lunch with you, Mikan said, gesturing to her homemade bento. You're the best, Mikan, Naruto said drowsily. That got a proud puff of the chest from the girl. As they prepared to go to the roof for a nice quiet lunch, they spotted Rito, dragging a cheerful Lala from a gang of pubescent boys. Go. Pion Pion Warp Kun, Lala's voice was heard among the charging boys. The next thing they know, Lala and Rito both vanish, leaving behind a boxed lunch and Rito's clothes. Mikan was almost speechless, but barely gathering her thoughts, she did manage to say something. Where are Lala's clothes? Apparently, her insane head ornament is a costume robot, Naruto blankly explained. How does that even work? Mikan asked no one. Mikan, this is one of those times. Right. They both shook their head as they rubbed their temples. They just knew that there was going to be a lot of headaches in the future. Late evening, Naruto was at the Yuki household, waiting for Rito to arrive and explain what in the world happened in school. Apparently from what he got from Mikado, Lala decided to go and have food with them, and then it spiraled out of control. After seeing a rather nervous Haruna, she explained that they ended up in a locker room, entirely naked. Luckily she was already informed of Lala's intergalactic identity and managed to keep herself from slapping her now apparent naked boyfriend silly. She still ran out of the room, not prepared to see her boyfriend's junk, who knew she was as innocent as Rito. After that, Rito and Lala left school. Most likely Rito went to sulk somewhere and Lala being herself followed. At the moment, Naruto was enjoying a nice cup of tea, Something he gotten used to thanks to the persistence of his wife, who said he always had a handsome melancholy look when he drank some of the stuff. His wife was into the whole refined, regal, noble thing, if only in public. He loved the woman too much to complain. Mikan was trying to calm herself, as getting involved with an alien princess was getting to her. Rito might not have thought of the consequences beyond his love life, but some pretty big things could happen if Rito didn't watch what he said. Leaning against Naruto, her head on his shoulder, she closed her eyes and let out a sigh of relief she had been holding in. "It's been a nerve-wreaking day, hasn't it?" Naruto said, tilting his head to the smaller girl. He would have been stupid not to notice the mood. She mumbled, relaxing her own shoulders. While he may have been an old man before, he was still human. Humans needed things like love and contact with a person so they would not be driven mad. Social creatures is what they were. Would he deny those feelings that come naturally? Maybe, if only to respect his former wife, but he knew better. His wife would not like it if he did that. Too self-sacrificing, that is what she called him. While it did attract her attention, she had worked hard to curb that particular habit. It was what made him accept the tsunade-like punches from Sakura. He subconsciously thought that it was needed to maintain their relationship. She would tell him he was being a lovable idiot like always, and tell him to go find himself a nice girl who can handle his knuckleheaded self and move on with his life, that she didn't need to see him be a little from heaven. Not exactly in that manner, but he got the idea. But that being said, he still had trouble picking up on other people's feeling toward him.
"This is going to get worse before it gets better, you know that, right?" Naruto said.
"I know. But for now, let's just enjoy these peaceful days," Mikan murmured, snuggling more into his side. The mood was just getting to what she wanted it to. "Mikan, I'm home." And now the mood was ruined. "I'm home, Mikan-chan," a cheerful voice said. "Naruto," Mikan started saying. "Yes, please stay. I might actually want to strangle Rito if someone isn't here," Mikan stated blandly. "Ah," Naruto said, and nodded. Rito just brought so much trouble with him. Rito walked in, looking rather disheveled with his clothes ruffled up and cut in various places. Lala, however, had her arm around the annoyed-looking Rito. "Ah, Naruto-kun's here too," Lala cried out. "Hello Lala," Naruto said in a low voice. The girl was too energetic to make him want to be energetic too. "So, what happened?" Mikan said, pointing at Rito's clothes. "Well, pretty much chapter 3, everyone watched in silence, well, mostly Mikan and Rito. Lala had no idea why, as Naruto was quiet, though they could see that his hand was trying to crush the armrest of the couch. It was a rule, when they were children, there was always someone who had the answers, and if you screw up, then that person is the one that you go to when you can't handle it. Naruto was that guy. "God damn it. Did you at least tell Lala that you liked somebody?" Naruto asked. "I think she might have misunderstood," Rito said sheepishly. Lala said, looking towards the group as she was in front of the television. "Lala, you do know that Rito likes somebody else, right?" Mikan asked the girl. Who is it?" she asked. "It's Rito said, getting embarrassed. "He has a girlfriend, which means that he isn't available anymore," Naruto said. "I don't mind sharing though," Lala said plainly. "What?" Rito and Mikan yelled. Naruto was shaking his head. The girl in front of him was just a one-of-a-kind type of girl. "Lala, it's illegal to marry more than one person on Earth." Mikan tried to reason with Lala. "But I'm an alien, Earth rules don't apply," Lala said. Naruto quirked an eyebrow. "Lala, are you seriously considering Rito as your choice in marriage?" Naruto asked seriously. "Naruto?" Mikan questioned. The blonde's demeanor changed all of a sudden. "Yes," Lala stated, with conviction. "Why?" Naruto asked the girl seriously.
Lala looked confused. "Why select Rito? If it's a matter of sympathizing with your situation, then there are millions of people that can do that.
If it's his kindness, then you're just taking advantage of it. Tell me, what sets Rito off from any other boy that is kind to you and sympathizes with you? You are forcing him into a position he can't refuse, either because of his personality or whatever mess you're dragging him into. What do you know about him? What are his likes, dislikes, dreams, and goals? Don't drag others in your problems because of your selfishness," Naruto told the girl. Lala looked down. Her hands gripped her knees tightly. Her lips were trembling and her eyes shined with unshed tears. She didn't like it. She didn't like the pointed looks that Naruto was showing her. Where was the Naruto that gave her food? That she shared a bed with?
Naruto, you idiot! Lala cried out. Naruto had to hold back his anger. The girl was far too naive. TCH. You sure are a spoiled princess, aren't you? Thinking that if you ran away, everything would be solved. That if you could somehow get your father to agree to this plan of yours, everything would be okay and you would get to live a happy life. Naruto trailed off.
What arrogance! Naruto yelled, causing everyone to flinch.
You are far too naive, brat. The world isn't that simple, the universe isn't that simple, living is not that simple. You expect to be able to handle a marriage when you can't even handle your own life. Naruto stated.
I can too, Lala replied, causing Naruto to snort.
Then why run away from home? You didn't like your situation, so you decided to run away from it. You decided to throw it all away like it meant nothing. How can I be sure that you won't throw away your supposed marriage? Naruto demanded.
Lala looked down to the floor and stayed quiet, not having a response to Naruto's question. Naruto gave Lala a long look, who responded by glaring at him, and then he scoffed. TCH. I don't have time to deal with a brat, much less a spoiled princess. Yane, Mikan, Rito. Naruto said, leaving without so much as a glance toward his childhood friends.
Both of them didn't know what to say. All this stuff about life, responsibility, it was not their cup of tea. They were only teenagers whose only responsibility was limited to housework and school. They could not understand the type of responsibility Naruto talked about.
Lala was trying her best not to tear up. Her first friend she met upon arriving on Earth just yelled at her. She wasn't used to talking about her own problems to someone that was her own age. Adults usually ignored her, believing that she would understand when she was older. But unfortunately she didn't, and she had a feeling that Naruto did. He called her a brat too. She was mad at him, and she was never mad at anyone. The night in the Yuki house passed without any more drama. The tension in the house was thick. No one spoke of what occurred with Naruto. The only difference at the moment was that Lala was quiet for the rest of the night. Naruto's house. Naruto let out a sigh as he entered his home. He blew up on Lala, the sweet and naive alien princess. She really didn't deserve to be put down like that, but he really felt that it had to be done. She was far too important to keep being naive. It would get her killed at one point. He could pretty much see her life already, being born into a powerful family, where she would be expected to succeed in academics and in politics or wherever she would be needed. It was Koyuki all over again. She was too green, too irresponsible, and too immature. She was nothing like Naruto. Naruto's train of thought suddenly stopped. He remained quiet for a moment before giving out a sigh.
I really shouldn't compare them, especially to her. But after watching her work so hard and hearing Lala talk about it so indifferent about it, what would you have done, Tomiko Harem? He whispered to himself.
The women he loved, the women that he admired, the women that could stand by him through each other's perils. She was dedicated to her duties, to serve her people, and as her husband, he supported her. With her, he found something better than his dream. With her, he found love greater than any he had experienced. With her, he found his happiness. The comparison between Tomiko and Lala was like comparing a stick with a sword. He sighed again, shaking his thought about Tomiko. She wasn't alive anymore, and dwelling on the past would just bring up a lot of heartache. For now, he needed to see how everything would go. There was no use teaching a girl who was shutting herself off from her responsibilities. Eventually they will catch up to her, and at that point, something might happen that she won't have a choice but to accept. But then again, he needed to put his pride aside when the time came too.
But for now, sleep. 2 days later, the next few days were rather lethargic for everyone, except Rito, who managed to get some alone time with Haruna. Lala proceeded to disregard what Naruto said and promptly did something that was in her character to do.
She signed up for high school. Naruto decided to ignore that particular storm, ignoring his classmates' talk about the amazingly busty and beautiful foreign girl that transferred in. Naruto wondered how the hell she signed herself up without documentation. Then he remembered that the principal was a huge pervert. Naruto sighed. It seemed that perverts always managed to get themselves in a position of power. Mikan, being the motherly hen that she was, tried to get Naruto and Lala to talk. Unfortunately, Lala seemed to make it a point to avoid Naruto that day, by causing as much chaos as she could. Naruto wasn't sure if it was intentional or not. At the end of school, Rito contacted him, informing him of the latest word from Deviluke. Earth would be destroyed if Rito failed in his marriage with Lala. Also, it seemed that everyone in the universe was aware of the marriage between Rito and Lala, and now they could send assassins to literally kill Rito. Naruto thought it was just the cherry on the whipped cream-covered sundae. It really was a mess now. He could handle if it was just Lala pursuing Rito. He was sure that Lala could worm her way into Rito's heart. Some part of him wished that Lala wouldn't be so stupid as to openly declare Rito her fiancé and have him as a target for the whole universe. Apparently, that wasn't the case.
Maybe she forgot about that particular thing because he couldn't imagine Lala deliberately putting someone in danger. Accidentally yes, on purpose no.
Nonetheless, he passed on the information to Mikan, because knowing Rito, he wouldn't tell Mikan because it might be too dangerous. Mikan's first response was a typical, seriously, followed by a, God damn it, like rant, and then proceeded to become his extra eyes in case something mysterious alien thing happened. Which was why Mikan had called him telling him that Rito had received a call and was acting strangely and suddenly bolted from the classroom. We'll have to continue this later, Mikado-sensei, Naruto told the alien nurse. Did something happen? Mikado asked. It looks like the assassins came earlier than expected. Either they're that good or they half-assed it and are most likely trying to trick Lala into going with them. I doubt any of them could actually force Lala with them, Naruto said. I see, she said, taking a sip of coffee as she watched the blonde walk away from her office. Naruto was talking to Mikado about the latest information he had gathered regarding Lala and Deviluke and the assassins. Naturally, both of them made a deal with each other. Information about species of aliens from Mikado and to prevent the knowledge of the existence of Mikado on Earth to the galaxy. Apparently she took a real liking to Earth, despite the technological setback. As weird as it may seem, both of them acquired a mutual friendship lately.
Mikado, from her lack of any real person to have a conversation because she was surrounded by perverted boy, which was natural, perverted colleagues, and so on, so to have someone to talk to was a much needed change. To Naruto, he needed a break from the hormonal teenagers that have plagued him for a long time. He needed to have an adult friendship, and Mikado was just the person. It probably helped both of them that Naruto had no intentions of jumping Mikado's bones whatsoever. Taking care of a princess brat is going to be such a bother. Naruto muttered to himself, which Mikado heard. She couldn't quite stop the small smirk from forming on her lips.
Good luck, Mr. Knight in shining armor, she said, drawing a dismissive handwave from the former Jinchuriki. I'm no knight, well maybe a bloodied one, equipment room.
Rito was panicking. Haruna had been captured by what seemed to be his PE teacher only to transform into a weird alien thing, and had Haruna captured in what seemed like a mechanical hand tentacle contraption. He feared that the so-called assassins would come, but he expected them more later. It didn't help that all of the alien was looking for was Lala's hand in marriage so he could gain political power. He even had the nerve to make Haruna a hostage. Now, Lala comes in, and everything seems to be coming together like pieces of a puzzle.
I'm warning you, don't even think of doing anything stupid with your glorious inventions. If I see you attempting, this woman you called a friend will. The alien known as Ghibli trailed off. Haruna, Rito and Lala yelled, as they watched the alien foe grip the unconscious body of the tied-up Haruna. Hey, what are you doing that for? Ghibli, Haruna isn't involved in this, is she? Lala accused Ghibli. And that's why I called you a brat, a voice said from behind. Naruto. Both Lala and Rito cried out. Did you really think that no one would get dragged into this? Because you are strong does not make you invincible. Just because your inventions are grand does not make them infallible. In order to make a stronger enemy fall, take away their will to fight. Naruto said, pointing at the unconscious Haruna. That's, Lala said, biting her lips. She didn't want it to be true, but the situation in front of her left no room for argument. She had always lived a sheltered life. She knew that, but she at least hoped that nothing bad would happen. Who are you, human? I remember telling the other fleshbag not to call anyone, otherwise my hand may slip, the alien said, using one of his clawed fingers to cut some of Haruna's clothing, exposing her bra. Rito became all panicky and red as a lobster while Naruto stayed still, not taking his eyes off the alien. Lala, you're a smart girl, As bratty as you may be. Naruto said, ignoring the alien. Right now, you are power. Anyone who marries you will have absolute power. Power is always dangerous. So tell me, when power attracts the worst and corrupts the best, what's the best way to keep that power in check? Naruto asked. Give it to someone that can't use it, Lala said quietly. But unfortunately, you ran away before someone could be found. Granted, Rito is an excellent choice. He knows nothing about aliens and even less about politics, but that doesn't mean someone who does can't control a defenseless Rito and his family. Naruto trailed off.
Rito stiffened. He really did not think about that. It was true, he was just a squishy human, no protection from aliens, who knows what kind of mind control things they had, or they could just threaten his family, and knowing himself, he would succumb to it to protect his family.
So, Naruto started again, in order to stop those monsters from coming after Rito. Something must be done, right Lala? Lala stayed quiet. Enough. Don't even think about moving or else this female won't survive. Ghibli cried out, he was losing control of the conversation.
Someone has to protect them, right Lala? Someone. Naruto trailed off, appearing right in front of Ghibli, surprising everyone.
Someone has to become a monster to kill the other monsters. Naruto's voice rung out throughout the room. Unknown to Lala and Rito, Naruto's eyes turned red, slitting eyes nailed Ghibli in his position. Before the alien even realized what he was facing, Ghibli fainted at the demonic voice that came from the very scary blonde. Huh? That was actually pretty pathetic. Naruto commented, honestly he was hoping for a big fight, what a letdown. Haruna-chan. Rito yelled, running to the now freed hostage. Take her to Mikado-sensei, she's an alien too, don't ask. Naruto said, cutting off Rito as he was about to voice his shock. Shaking it off, Rito proceeded to carry his unconscious girlfriend to the nurse's office, leaving Lala and Naruto alone with the unconscious Ghibli. So, what do you think now, Lala? Naruto asked the pink-haired princess. Lala stared at the ground, not meeting Naruto's gaze as she tried to put her feelings in words, but she was struggling to do so. Finally, after a brief moment, Lala spoke up. I did something bad, didn't I? She said. Yes, you did. Naruto said plainly. I messed up big.
How big? I made a boy I barely knew my fiancé. Got him dragged into a situation he had no idea what to do except it. Dragged his family and loved ones into it. And now if he doesn't pull through, my dad's going to destroy this world. Lala said.
Wait, you know about that? Zaston told me. I'm a bad person, aren't I? Lala said, kneeling down and wrapping her arms around her legs and squeezing herself into a ball. Naruto sighed, at least she admitted it, now all that was left is to get her to do something about it. Lala. Naruto said, kneeling down to her. You admit you were wrong, right? He got a small nod in return. You admit that you were being selfish, right? He got another nod in return. And you want to fix this, right? Another nod. Then you're not a bad person. Naruto said. Lala said, lifting her head from her knees. We will always make mistakes, that's just a part of being alive. We will always be selfish, that's just something that people will always be. But to want to fix your mistakes and admit you were wrong, that just means that you are becoming a bit more wiser than you were before. Naruto told the slightly less naive alien girl. But, Lala trailed off but was cut off by Naruto. As long as we are alive, we will make mistakes, it's just a matter of standing back up when you do. But then again sometimes, a person needs a bit of help getting up. Naruto said, extending his hand at the crouching girl. Now, it's only a matter of if you're willing to accept the help. Naruto said, grinning at the girl. Grabbing a hold of his hand, her first thoughts were that Naruto was just way too weird for her to understand. First, he's carefree, then he's mean, then he's even meaner, then he's nice. She couldn't help but like him though, his hand was warm, she liked that warmth. But first there was something she needed to do first. Standing up straight, she bent forward in a 90-degree position and said, I'm sorry. Naruto said, confused. Lala let out a nervous laugh as she put her hand behind her head and said, it's just that I was avoiding you since we talked last time and I was being mean and well, you know, she started fidgeting. Naruto looked at the fidgeting girl before letting out a laugh that startled the girl. Bringing his hand to Lala's head, he began to rub it, making her hair a mess. I'm sorry too, I was too harsh on you. I shouldn't have yelled at you like that. I was. Naruto trailed off before he let out a sigh. Let's just say we were both wrong, okay? Naruto asked. Hi, Lala cheered, getting back to her regular self. Reaching into his pocket to pull out her phone, she somehow made a toilet appear out of it and flushed Ghibli into it. Naruto stayed quiet, not wanting to completely destroy his sanity. Lala left, running at full speed, smiling all the way, while Naruto just let out a sigh. It's safe to come out, Mikan, Naruto said. A bit of noise was heard before Mikan emerged from underneath the vaulting horse equipment, which she managed to get into while everyone was distracted.
Letting out a relieved sigh, Mikan stepped out of the equipment. I was really nervous for a while there. Good thing everything ended all right, she said.
It was only the start. Who knows what else is coming, Naruto said. But you won't let anything happen to us, right? Mikan pointed out, poking Naruto's cheeks, coving her own mouth with her hand in a teasing manner. Of course, Naruto said, ignoring Mikan's provocation. Thank you. Rito was about to do something stupid. Even though that alien turned out to be weak, you still stopped him from hurting himself, so thank you. Mikan explained, giving Naruto a smile.
TCH, like I need a reason to save somebody. Naruto scoffed, turning his head away from Mikan, trying to hide a small blush on his cheeks.
You still can't take a compliment, can you? Mikan said. Shut up. Who knew Naruto was prone to such Tsunere moments? Not gonna drop this, are you? Nope. Damn it, Ibeo. Sunday, Naruto, let's go shopping, Mikan said. Naruto, who had been sleeping on the couch of his home, blinked up at Mikan, who kept staring down on him, yawned and in a rather calm voice asked, May I ask why? Ignoring the fact that she barged into his house. Lala doesn't have clothes. It's getting pretty bad now since she walks around naked if Peak needs recharging. I'm tired from cleaning up after Rito's blood is spilled on the floor, Mikan said. It's amazing what kind of influence I've been on you, seeing as you can discuss your own brother's life fluid steadily leaving his body, Naruto said, with half-lidded eyes. Mikan shrugged. It's my right as his sister. By the way, where is that klutz of a brother of yours? Naruto asked. He went out with Haruna-senpai. It took him a while to get the nerve to call her. I ended up texting her the time and place because he fainted when trying, Mikan said. Your brother never ceases to amaze me, Naruto commented. And Lala? Naruto asked. Watching TV, she answered. Wearing her alien clothes. For Kami's sake. At least make her change to normal clothing first, no need to draw attention to ourselves. Somehow, I think a pink-haired girl with a tail is more of an eye-catcher, Mikan mused. Mikan, oh right. Mikan shook herself off her train of thought and left to prepare Lala. Naruto sighed and looked at the ceiling. This is going to be a troublesome day, he muttered. Lingerie store. Naruto shook his head as he refused to meet the gazes of the shoppers around him. While some were giving him the evil eye, some other were giving him rather amused smiles. He knew that they knew who was with him. He was very well known in the community, as well as Mikan for being his closest friend and his apparent mistress, wife-to-be, girlfriend, fiancé and whatever titles they gave her. Ever since Lala came into the picture, people have been accusing him having another mistress, and seeing as he was accompanying another woman with Mikan and buying her clothes, the rumors would start spreading faster. He tried his best to ignore it, but some of the women had rather kinky comments that he couldn't help but picture in his mind. Especially since Lala had no reservations of showing him her curves.
Sexy lingerie. Critical hit. How much longer, Mikan? Naruto grounded out, keeping his voice as even as possible. It didn't help that he also saw Mikan in her underwear, who was trying to calm down Lala.
Just a bit longer, Mikan said, her voice cracking a bit in embarrassment at being seen. Naruto, Mikan, look at this, Lala cried out, showing what seemed to be. Lala, put that down. Mikan and Naruto shouted in unison. Why? Because you won't need those yet. Naruto gritted his teeth. Why on earth would they sell them so casually? He would never know. But it says you can eat them, Lala said, perplexed. Lala. Mikan yelled, frantically looking around to see the staring customers eyeing them. So troublesome. Naruto grounded out. Naruto looked at his Gama-chan 2.0, its glorious fat belly became a skinny frog pouch.
He didn't mind per se, but he wished that Mikan restrained herself a bit. They spent the evening showing Lala around, leading her to popular spots and shops around town, having her taste food and watching her reactions to it, which were hilarious.
Lala did want to go to the aquarium, but Mikan dissuaded her. Apparently Rito had his date with Haruna there. Naruto wasn't about to cock-block his sort of friend, or in this case crash his date. In the end, they went home and prepared themselves for the next day. At the moment it was nighttime. He stared outside, gazing at the moon, reminding himself of how different his life had changed. He went from living in a hostile world to living in a peaceful one.
The town he lived in was a quiet one that almost seemed too peaceful to be existing. He had trouble fitting in with the rest of the people his age.
Students worrying about tests, about girls, about jobs, it just seemed so worthless to him. He would have been a total outcast if it wasn't for Mikan. Mikan, he owed a lot to that girl. She might not know it, but because of her stubbornness, he was able to connect with someone. Because of that he could move past his bloodied past. Because of that, she became one of his precious people. That is why he would protect her and her family, because she pulled him from his pathless road and gave it direction. Don't worry Mikan, everything will be alright, he said to himself. It's a promise of a lifetime. With that, he went to sleep, his mind wandering to days past. Dream flashback. The war had been over for more than a year. The elemental nations had been ravaged by the onslaught of the Zetsu clones that literally cannibalized any villages that it came into contact with, the stray destruction from the Biju and the total land restructuring that the Jubi brought. Life in the elemental nations was rough at the moment. There was no mission coming in that was higher than a B-rank mission. The only real danger was from bandits that attempted to get rich quick by attacking the now severely weakened towns and villages from around the nation. A new system of government was needed. Every nation agreed on that. But the problem was, there was almost nobody that could be trusted with that kind of power. The power of the entire nation would rest with him or her, and because of that, the one person who could be trusted above all else to protect this individual had to be someone who would not abuse that position. Naruto, you are hereby ordered by all 5 cages of the elemental nation to protect this client. This is very important Naruto, as in if you fail, ramen will cease to exist. Understood? The Godem Hokage, Tsunade said, now wheelchair-bound from her injuries of the war. Even though it healed, her legs were still wonky from being bisected from her body. By her side did Shizune and Sakura, who watched over their master, know how close she was to passing on. Understood. Hokage-sama, Naruto said with as much determination and seriousness as he could muster. Very well, bring her in. Tsunade yelled out. The door opened and the only thing that Naruto could think of was red. The most beautiful shade of red he had ever seen. Elegant hair that cascaded of the regal face of the person that was trusted with the power of the nation. Her red hair, deep crimson, shined beautifully, her eyes, light shade of blue that could be as cold as ice or warm as the sky. She walked with grace he had never seen before. He could not help but think that the woman in front of him was not human, because she was too beautiful to be.
Naruto, this is Yuko Tomiko. She is the daughter of the Kiri's daimyo. She has been instructed since birth to one day handle things in Kiri, but now, her duty is to regulate the elemental nations. Keep her safe as your life depended on it. You will journey with her to all 5 hidden villages and gather as much information as you can before she assumes her role as ruler. Is that clear? Tsunade asked.
Hi. Hokage same, Naruto said. He knew how important this mission was. It was a mission that would determine whether or not the elemental nations would move forward or regresses into a war-torn nation. But before he could even think anything else, he felt a pair of eyes looking at him. At her gaze, he felt petrified. He almost felt that if she didn't approve, he would die. Yuko Tomiko was staring intently at him. So you're Uzumaki Naruto, she stated, looking at him in the eyes. Why yes, Yuko-sama. Naruto stuttered a bit, in embarrassment or out of duty he didn't know. Tomiko looked at Naruto for a while before she pointed at him with her fingers and she finally declared, you look flaky. Naruto didn't know how to react. Should he be mad that some random girl was insulting him, or should he stay quiet because he had just fallen in love at first sight, and thus, the start of what could be called the sequel to the tale of the utterly gutsy shinobi, had begun, at the start of a rather blunt princess's opinion. It was Sunday, noon. It was a rather mild day, the sun wasn't too hot, nor was it too cold, it was just right for any people that had a free day to go sit on a couch and doze off into dreamland.
This is where Naruto was at the moment. If there were a few things that was needed to know about Naruto, it was that he loved ramen, and that he loved sleeping.
Well, he loved taking baths too, but that was besides the point.
Naruto loved to sleep. When he could, he would find a nice, good place to lay his head down and snooze the day away. It also didn't help that the alien assassins were cutting into his sleep time. He and his group had already apprehended a number of aliens that attempted to get to Rito by transforming into his classmates via technology or by attacking him from afar with some alien sniper weapon or some sawed-off weapon of mass destruction.
Thankfully for Naruto, most aliens were without a doubt some of the most stupidest beings he'd met and had a lot of bad karma. Seriously, what kind of assassin gets taken out by his own weapon exploding on him due to lack of maintenance? He also silently laughed. It seemed that Mikan had picked up a few odd tastes lately. Hopefully she won't have to reveal it, but he was happy that Mikan had chosen at least a small form of protection. But at the moment, none of that mattered. All that mattered to him was him, his couch, his pillow and sweet. Ring, 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 son of a. Groggily reaching for his phone, he cracked open his eyes to see who he would kill for disturbing his sleep. Saibai Yuki. Great. The father of his childhood friend, that meant no death threats. Picking up his phone, he rudely said, "What? Naruto-chan." The caller says before he is cut off. "Say that again and they'll never find your body." Naruto growled, his self-control was horrible when waking up. Understood. Uzumaki-sama. Saibai said. So, what is it? Naruto asked. Well, you see, I might need some help with my manuscript, Saibai explained. Again, Naruto replied. Yes, again, he responded weakly. You really are a pathetic excuse for an adult, to call your daughter's best friend to help you out in your job. Naruto berated the man. Yes, he responded. I mean, it's not enough that you don't even have a decent schedule for your job. Your own daughter has to go and clean up after you and cook you dinner. Yes. Saibai responded more weakly. You should be thankful that you have such understanding children, otherwise they might have turned into delinquents. Naruto continued. Yes. Saibai said, subdued. Good. Now that you have been thoroughly chastised, who else is going? Naruto asked. Rito and Mikan are coming over. Apparently they're bringing over the alien girl and Rito's girlfriend. Saibai said, giggling at the end. Oh. Just to make it clear, Haruna-senpai is just as innocent as Rito, so try and tone it down. You don't want to look like a devil in front of your future daughter-in-law, do you? Naruto said. I'll try, but they might make excellent research material, Saibai reasoned. If you say so. Naruto responded. Yane. Saibai responded back with his usual exuberant self. Yuki Saibai was a bit like Jiraiya in his eyes, except, he was a mix of Jiraiya, Kakashi, and maybe a bit of Ino in the mix. Saibai was dedicated to his job, he could respect the man, but he was a bit too free-spirited for him, so he took the time to berate the man, as seeing no one else did. He needed some ego smashing to appreciate his family, apparently it also helped with his work. He was also a fanatic gossiper, he had ears open to inspire himself in his stories, so he heard things from around town. He already assumed that he knew that Rito was stuck in a triangle relationship. Why did Mikan had to have such a troublesome family? In the end, nothing particularly destructive happened, everything went as expected, including the boisterous Lala's interference. Luckily Lala had substitutes for Saibai's now soulless apprentice. Chapter not really important honestly. Few days later. Mikan was walking around in the shopping district, buying groceries for dinner. She was busy humming and idly swaying her hips in tune. The reason, Naruto was coming over to eat. He didn't come over often, so whenever she got a heads up, she would cook a little special something for her blonde-haired crush. It seemed that Lala was getting along better with Rito, but then again the girl was almost impossible to stay mad at unless you have some stupidly impossible grudge against her. Though she did get tired of Lala randomly walking naked coming out of the shower or Rito tripping and landing himself in some compromising position. She was thankful that she managed to avoid those. She would never forgive Rito if Naruto caught them in that position. As she walked, she noticed that a few delinquents were bumming around the place, looking at her with leering eyes. She let out a sigh and casually started texting on her phone. She didn't want to bring Naruto into this, he'd break them. As she got nearer to an alleyway, one of the delinquents decided it was now or never. "Hey girlie." The obvious leader, gang member called Mikan out. "Why don't you forget whatever you were doing and come hang with us for a while?" he said, while his companions walked in sync with him and giggled and drooled at the prospects of her body. Honestly, Mikan let out a sigh. "Don't you have anything better to do, like get a girlfriend your own age? People like you just keep popping up without knowing what kind of thing you're dealing with." Mikan said. She really had no interest in guys like them. They were greenhorns anyways, not even worth turning her head in acknowledgement from her. Mikan had developed an eye for potential threats by hanging around Naruto, and these guys barely even registered as a minor threat. "Come on little lady," the delinquent said, "you're much better than those random girls. Come on, I know some great places, so why don't we just go there, Kay?" "No," Mikan said plainly. She continued walking forward before she felt a hand grab her shoulder. Turning around to watch the offending culprit, she put on a stoic face. "You know, you should really listen to your senpais." The boy sneered at her, as he tried to pull her towards him. What he didn't see was the foot flying towards his face. "Bam! Son of a, you!" the boy yelled out, clutching his now bleeding nose. His gang all cried out as they watched their boss get blindsided. "Y'all think we'll let you get away?" the leader cried as his gang lined up to intimidate Mikan. Mikan, whose leg was still a bit elevated, simply let her leg down and took out her cell phone. Without looking down, she pressed the call button. "You really have no idea who you're dealing with, do you?" Mikan said. "I don't give a flying rat's ass who I'm dealing with. All you'll be is my when this is over with," the leader growled. "This is why I hate greenhorns, they never seem to pick up on why there are no gangs around this town," Mikan sighed. "What are you?" the delinquent started saying before his voice grew weaker and his face paled. "Why?" Because as he was finishing his sentence, he realized that he was surrounded. He would have assumed that they were another gang, but the different uniforms they wore told him differently. Yakuza, martial artist, school uniforms, suits, civilian outfits, all of them and more surrounded them before he knew what was happening. "What is this?" he said in a whispered tone. "There's a reason why there aren't gangs in this town. It is because they were all united under one banner. Normally we keep an eye out for things. Greenhorns like you pop out all the time, but they don't cause much trouble. They usually pick a fight with someone way above them and find themselves face first in the dirt," Mikan explained. "Who are you?" the delinquent continued. "Me? I'm no one, I just happen to be the childhood friend of the guy that rules over this town. That's all," Mikan said, with a smile. "You." The delinquents decide to charge, an all-or-nothing tactic. Unfortunately, most of the group was taken down in an instant, except for the leader who continued to charge at Mikan. "You." The leader took a wild swing at Mikan, who in response ducked the swing and countered with an elbow thrust to her opponent's stomach. The leader clutched his stomach as Mikan pulled back and performed a roundhouse kick on the side of the leader's head. Landing face first in the dirt, the leader decided to get serious, pulling out a small knife from his back pocket. Just as he was about to get up, he heard a distinct sound. Click. Slowly lifting his head, he stared right at the barrel of a pistol. "Don't move," the wielder said. The leader looked at the owner of the gun, only to find Mikan. Suddenly, a lot of things were starting to click in his mind. "You, no way," he said breathlessly. "Ah, you finally recognize me," Mikan said plainly. "You're Uzumaki's right hand," he trailed off. "Oyasumi Nasai," Mikan said. She pulled the trigger. A gunshot was heard. "Kuroshi ya, Shoju, gunslinger girl," he said before succumbing into darkness. Mikan looked at the downed delinquent and gazed at her gun. "You know, it's a rubber bullet, right?" No response. "I hate that nickname. Makes me sound like I'm some sort of born killer or something," Mikan mused. "An-sama, what should we do with these guys?" a minion, heir and ally said, pointing at the struggling group of delinquents that watched their leader get taken out. "Educate them on their place and the rules of the town. Keep an eye on them afterwards," Mikan told them. "Hi, An-sama," all of them chorused. Now, what would Naruto like to eat? Mikan trailed off, hiding her gun and picking up her groceries. As they watched Mikan leave, some of them let out a breathe. Damn, that's one badass girl, one of them muttered. Well, you don't stay Uzumaki-sama's friend without growing a backbone, another said. I know, but still, damn, boss sure knows how to pick them, another muttered. Mikan, did anything interesting happen today? Rito asked his sister. At the moment, she and Rito were eating dinner with Lala and Naruto. Naruto was looking forward to some cooking from Mikan as she always made something great and Lala was starving. Not really. Why? Mikan asked her brother. No, it's just that, I got a feeling something happened, that's all. Rito explained. You're being paranoid, it was just the same ordinary day, Mikan stated. I wonder what a Kuroshi ya Shouju's ordinary day is? Naruto mused, making Mikan's cheeks heat up. Kuroshi ya Shouju? What's that? Lala and Rito asked. Nothing. Mikan said sternly before pinning down Naruto with her glare. It's nothing, just some idle thought, Naruto responded. Mikan continued glaring at Naruto before she let out a sigh. One does not stay friends with Naruto without developing a seriously strong backbone. She knew that he was in a different world than she was and she did not want to get left behind. Another thing you have to learn about being around Naruto, if you already had a backbone when you were befriended by Naruto, that backbone will be able to cut steel by the end of it. For a while she watched Naruto as he continued with his hobbies, as they revolved around gymnastics, running and any other exercise. She never understood his obsession with gymnastics as it was a rather girly sport for him to be in, but that changed after she saw his flexibility in action against his opponents. She wanted to imitate that. While it was a small thing, her passing interest in gymnastics set the stage for her current occupation, a rather good gun wielder. It wasn't like she had the speed or strength to compete with Naruto, so she used a little help. Naruto did encourage her into it too, saying it was good to have a way to defend herself. Of course, she gained a few more nicknames after showing that particular skill, but those were stories for another time. Few days later, seriously? Naruto asked astonished. Yup. Mikan said, ignoring the various noises made by her classmates on the bus. Man, she sure has a set of lungs on her, Naruto commented dryly. I sure didn't expect it with a voice like hers. Just when I think I have Lala figured out, she goes and shows this, Mikan said. They both felt a bit thankful to Lala's interference though. A few days ago, it was reported that a typhoon was going to pass by Japan and it would cancel their school trip. It was short notice so the school couldn't reschedule. Lala decided that she really wanted to go according to Mikan and flew towards the ocean with a passenger named Rito. Apparently she used many of her inventions but ultimately failed, and in a fit of childish rage she yelled at the incoming typhoon. Apparently she blew them in another direction. Unfortunately, because of that, the second year's students had to get their trip moved to the same destination as the first year's. Thus both sets of classes were going on a joint trip. Not sure how it works, but it's a fanfic. I command it to work. A lot of the first years are excited though, mostly the guys, Naruto noticed. It's probably because they'll be watching the senpais in their swimsuits. Mikan explained. She just shrugged it off, they were all teenagers after all. As long as it was strictly looking and no touching, there was no trouble. As long as it was within moral integrity. The inn they were staying at was a quaint place. It was surrounded by a good deal of forest as well as a beach nearby. The shrine that stood behind the inn also drew in customers in as well as made it an ideal school trip location or a place where lovers could go to unwind from whatever stressful situations they had. While it was an ideal location for a school trip, the principal picked it for one reason and happened to luck out on it having been a good location for the trip. The women. Naruto had to admit, the women were beautiful in their own right. A way he could describe them was that they were all gems. Common gems with a few semi-common gems, but gems nonetheless. All it took was a bit of polishing to get them for showtime, so to speak. As such, it was also a popular spot for adults in their early 20s to come and enjoy the eye candy that were the women of the inn. How did Naruto know thing? Naruto-sama. Welcome back, the manager of the inn, Takami said. He owned the place. At an early age, Naruto knew that he would need a steady source of income to live day to day while being in school, and while he could gain a monumental amount at once, it was counterproductive and would draw far too much attention. So he decided to use his luck. With that luck, he invested in stock, casinos, and other quick money places and earned himself a nice amount of money. But he chose another alternative, then keep using that method. Make an inn. He decided to make a nice inn, one with a hot spring, prime location, and had enough places around it that it could be considered a tourist attraction. Luckily, finding a location was easy enough as the place was out of place and surrounded with forest before he came in. Using his money, he put the inn together and trained them, which was a bit difficult as their boss was just a kid, and he left them in charge to see how they would fare. It went well. It was not great, but it was not bad. The inn was sustaining himself and he was making a profit, a small one but a profit nonetheless. That was when he met the now current manager Takami. Takami was an office worker that just seemed to get jobs where her bosses dealt with some highly illegal deal behind closed doors, but she was an upstanding person, so when she learned about it, she quit her job. Apparently cops picked up on the pattern and made a deep background check on her bosses, which left her in a very difficult position where she could barely find a job. From there she took to being a housekeeper, who babysat, cleaned, cooked, and basically was a housewife that you pay. She found herself enjoying it, but unfortunately a former boss of hers decided to take revenge on her by burning her and her apartment home down. Luckily she was not home, but as a result, she lost all her material possession. That was around the time she met the young Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto took it upon himself to help the women, and when she joined the workers at the inn, she practically bloomed. Naruto chose to give her the role as manager, whom protested before giving in. Since then, Naruto had gained her eternal loyalty for taking a chance on an end-of-the-rope women like her, and since then, the inn flourished. She wanted to thank the boy for giving her a chance when others would have turned their heads and ignored her. She may have also developed a small infatuation for the blonde, not that she'd act on it, but the whole knight in shining armor and savior had a whole lot more impact than she'd be willing to share. She might be a bit of a sadist, but she wasn't a cradle robber. "Hello, Takami," Naruto said, as he watched Takami punch the principal. "I see you still have that killer punch," Naruto commented. "Yes. I thought it'd be wise to teach the girls a bit of self-defense. It really was a lifesaver." "Ah, welcome Mikan-sama. I hope you enjoy your stay." Takami greeted Mikan. Mikan was her boss's mistress, so the proper title had to be given. Please don't call me Sama, it's really embarrassing," Mikan said. She was used to it from boys in Naruto's gang. It was a bit of an ego boost honestly, but seeing a woman like Takami say it, it left her a bit embarrassed. "No, Mikan-sama. Titles are important. It would not do for you to be called the same as the nameless masses," Takami responded. "Wah, since when did I rise from being normal to privileged?" Mikan asked herself quietly. "So how's the inn, Takami?" Naruto asked. "It is doing fine, Naruto-sama. Business is steady and the test of courage game turned out to be a big hit," Takami said. "I see. We'll talk later, but for now, I want to enjoy the trip," Naruto said. "Understood. Please enjoy your stay." Mikan let out a satisfied sigh. She always enjoyed a bit of stretching after a good bath. The inn had a nice hot spring where everyone went into to clean themselves up after the long drive to get to the inn. But she was a bit mad that the boys decided to try and peek on them. Even Rito joined in, probably to see Haruna in the nude. Her respect for her brother went down a notch. The test of courage, she was familiar with it. Naruto had once spoken about it when it was in the blueprint stage. She hoped it wouldn't involve explosions. Naruto decided that something interesting was needed. While he was sure that Takami did an excellent job on the event, something else was needed to spice it up. "Lala, can you help me with something?" Naruto asked, causing the pink-haired girl to smile widely. "Hi, how can I help?" she asked eagerly. She already brought a lot of problems for Naruto. It was time to repay him a bit. "I need you to help me make this little event a bit more scarier," Naruto told the bouncy girl. How?" she asked. "Well," Naruto started explaining. The test of courage, or as the tourists started calling it, dare, was a game that was based on making it to a certain point on the grounds. On the way there though, employees of the inn will do their best to scare the crap out of you and your partner. Of course, it would not make for a tourist attraction without some form of rumor involving it. As it stood right now, those that make it would be destined to become a couple. Of course that was not true, but the human mind tends to work with suggestive thinking. Of course, the pair gets chosen at random. The pairings that currently mattered were Rito and Haruna Mikan and Lala Naruto and Kotogawa Yui. Both Mikan and Naruto looked a bit pale. Mikan had no problems with Lala, she would be happy to go with her, but the girl had no sense of fright, she laughed it away, but then again having a super-powered dad might have been the cause. But she couldn't help but feel that it was a wasted moment for any progress with Naruto. Naruto on the other hand was a bit disappointed with the pairing. He did not hate Yui, he was actually a good friend of her brother, Yu Kotogawa. But they tended to clash a lot, their personalities and circumstances were at fault though. TCH. Oni-san's friend, I didn't think you'd be younger than me, Yui scoffed. One of the problems Naruto had with Yui was that she was a tsundere. While he had plenty of experience with the opposite sex, one can never truly understand a tsundere. Ah. It's Neko-chan. Naruto responded. Who are you calling a Neko? Yui hissed back. Naruto started calling her Neko after they had first met, her black hair, her sharp yellow eyes, he couldn't help but be reminded of a cat whenever he saw her. Of course she didn't like it, and ever since she's been chasing after him whenever she saw the slightest rule violation. Why are you surprised that I'm your underclassman? I'm pretty sure I told you when we first met, Naruto told her. Yui's face flushed. Shut up, idiot, she yelled and gave a huff and looked away, her cheeks still stained with red. She wasn't paying attention when they first met, she was too busy looking at the whisker marks on the boy her brother brought over for a meal. She as hell wouldn't let him know that though. Alright. Let's go then, you're not scared of anything in particular, are you? Naruto asked. He himself was still scared of ghosts, just not as much as before, but they still set him off worse than anything else. But at least he knew everything in the forest was fake. No, not that I can think of right now. Yui responded, no need to be a person that was being civil. Rito and Haruna. Kya. Haruna screamed as her iron grip on Rito stayed firm as he was tossed around, his body being used as a club. Ha haru ow. Rito tried to talk, but he kept being slammed into trees, obstacles and the occasional person.
No. Haruna continued to scream. This is still worth it, Rito thought, as he accepted this part of scared girlfriend.
Mikan and Lala. Ahahaha. This is fun. Lala laughed as she passed through the obstacles, her laughing never ceasing. Amazing, it's like she has no sense of fear, Mikan muttered. She wasn't sure what to think about Lala at times like this. She was an alien, yet she was as close to a human as an alien can get. That was why she could accept Lala was an alien so easily. There were differences, but they didn't really matter. At times like this, she was not sure if she should continue viewing Lala as the smart but naive ditzy alien or someone that was hiding a lot of steel under her personality. Nay, Mikan. Why are you earthlings scared of these? Lala pointed at the hologram form of ghosts. It's mostly cultural. Mikan pointed out. Cultural? She asked. Yes, for a long time, people had reasons to be scared, that was natural. Scary things are scary after all. But this is where the thing that scares us is that we can't explain these things. I don't know whether or not aliens have studied ghost, but our culture is highly influenced by superstition. We don't know if ghosts are real or not, but it's common to think of them as vengeful spirits that want to hurt us. And since that idea was put into our minds, we naturally grew fearful of things like that and anything related to superstition. That it is unexplainable yet it exists scares us, Mikan explained. So it's more of a being scared of things they don't understand, right? Lala summarized. Pretty much, it became more akin to fearing fear itself though, Mikan commented. Earth is a really fun place, Lala cheered as she continued her observations. Mikan just let out a sigh before nodding to herself. Yup, Earth is a fun place. Naruto and Yui. Boo, HGNNNNGH, Yui covered her mouth in an attempt to stifle her cries. You know, there's no shame in admitting that you're scared, Naruto told the crouching, shaking girl. Instantly, Yui got up and cried in indignation, I'm not scared, tears threatening to come out of her eyes. Everybody is afraid of something, like me, I'm scared of anything to do with ghosts, Naruto explained. Lie. Then how come you aren't scared right now, she cried out. Because I know this is fake. If it was real, I'd be deadweight right now, Naruto said. Gah. Another surprise spook came out. Kimph, Yui stifled her voice again. Naruto sighed. He felt like he was taking care of his kids again, always insisting that they were not afraid in order to make themselves look more mature.
It was adorable at their age. At Yui's age, it became dear to a tsunere's soon.
It should be illegal to have a body like Yui's and still look cute while looking sexy. She was very well developed for her age. It could be compared to Lala. Actually, now thinking about it, Lala and Yui were opposites. Fun, chaos, and strict order. He wondered if they would end up being friends or enemies because it seemed highly likely that maybe Yui could penetrate Lala's personality. Naruto, getting tired of watching Yui torture herself, decided to interfere. "Come on Yui, we're getting out of here," he said, grabbing Yui's hand and dragging her with him. Hey wait. Don't grab my hand, Yui yelled but followed him. "Why?" Naruto continued to march. "Because, it's embarrassing," she responded quietly, her hair covering her face. Naruto gave her a questioning look. "Nothing," she said. "All right," Naruto said, not bothering Yui anymore. He did not want her to run away for some random reason. Thus the Dare game ended in a rather unclimactic way, as due to Lala's inventions and the original fright level of the game, no one seemed to be able to make it halfway through the path, much to the disappointment of the other employees in that half of the route. Next day, the sun was shining, the sea was sparkling, and there were girls as far as the eye could see, all in bikinis. Most of the boys spent the entire time looking at the paradise that lay before them, especially the first yays, as they enjoyed watching their classmates and their senpais swimwear. "Ah, I can die happy," a student said. "I know right," another said. "Oh, look at Lala-san and Kodagawa," another said. Instantly a bunch of lustful eyes darted to the pair of bikini-clad second-year students. Indeed, as childish as Lala might be and as strict as Yui might be, they had some of the best curves in the whole school. As such, they both had their own fan clubs. The boys don't change, do they? Even Rito is looking at Haruna-senpai. Mikan commented as she sat next to Naruto. Mikan herself would be ogled if it wasn't for the notorious Naruto being next to her. Naruto himself was fine with getting looked at. It actually happened a lot more than he cared to admit by being around Tamaki in the beginning and then after marrying her. Being the center of attention was not foreign to Naruto as it had been in the past. If it had, he would be a wreck now. Don't let it bother you. Besides, it's not like they can do anything about it. They're hormonal teenage boys with no control over their bodies who are in front of bikini-clad girls, all of them whom are gems in their own right. If the boys didn't ogle, then I'd be worried for them, Naruto explained. Still doesn't mean I have to like it. I never said you did. The day continued with a dolphin looking for help. Luckily Naruto saw it early on, and before it could do anything else like steal the tops of the student girls, he followed it and helped push the older dolphin back into the ocean as it got stuck and needed help. Night. Mikan could not help but reflect on the actions of the female species. For some reason, it always ended up this particular way, one way or another. After the game ended, everyone went back to take a bath and then set off to their beds. But somehow, it descended into a room full of clattering girls talking about who was cute or who was smarter in the overall, who was the most hottest guy in school. She should have seen it coming, but sadly she didn't, so now she was stuck with everyone trying to probe her for information on who. Uzumaki Naruto. Mikan knew that Naruto was that guy, you know, the guy that everyone talks about, even in the company of those that hate him, he is still talked about. After the constant jabbering of questions, she was finally able to free herself and join Lala's group that consisted of Lala, Haruna, Riza, Mio and surprisingly Yui. "Ah, Mikan-chan." Lala greeted. "Lala, Senpai Tachi. Hello." She half bowed before sitting down with all of them. "You looked drained." Haruna asked in concern. "It's okay, it was just a bit tiring." Mikan sighed. "Nay. How is it being asked questions about your boyfriend?" Riza asked, teased. "He's not my boyfriend and it's exhausting as always," Mikan said, ignoring the little dig at her. "You say that now," Mio commented, "but you've got your claws on him pretty deep already," Riza finishing. "We're childhood friends, I think I have plenty of influence on him with that alone. Besides, it's not like he does anything to encourage them. If anything he's being lazy," Mikan commented. "Really? I thought him being the best at sports and high academics was him trying," Riza commented. No, he's always been an exercise nut, so that came naturally, and for his academics, that's mostly my influence. I did skip a grade after all. He usually joins me in studying. Mikan continued. Then he's a no-good bum. Figures he's like my brother, they're friends after all. Yui chose to comment. Ni-san? Oh, you must be Yu's sister. I remember him telling me that his sister was kind of a tsundere with a stubborn personality, Mikan commented. Who are you calling a tsundere? Yui hissed. Now, Kodagawa-san. Calm down, Haruna said. Naruto's is fun. He is a bit clingy in bed though. Lala added her own opinion. Hentai. Yui yelled. How daring, Riza said. Haruna chose not to comment. Who knew? Mio said. Ah. Yeah, he likes to hug things in his bed, it's usually a big pillow that's the victim though. Mikan said, remembering Naruto's night habits, forgetting to mention that they slept together when they were younger. Besides, and thus the night descended into the typical or stereotypical girls' sleepover type of night where they continued talking about random things that boys have no reason to be talking about. In school, as the school trip ended, everything went back to the usual except with Yui passing through more often in the first-year classes. That often resulted in sudden spontaneous conversations with Naruto and Yui. Yui being paranoid and Naruto just accepting the girl's paranoia. To Naruto, Yui was a nice girl. A bit overbearing, but no one was perfect. He just accepted her actions as a concern for him as friends. Of course that didn't stop Mikan and Yui from butting heads, where Mikan left a flustered Yui behind as she could not deal with Mikan's onslaught of teasing and double innuendo. Naruto sometimes wondered what kind of scary friend he kept. But today was a really bad day for Naruto, one that he only had Rito to blame for. See, it all started with a transfer student called Ren, who came to school to reunite with his childhood friend and his love Lala. Of course, as any typical manga plot goes, he immediately challenged Rito to her hand in marriage. Rito, who was already happy with his girlfriend and didn't want to be involved with any of Ren's machination, tried to pass it off. Of course, he didn't count on Ren hitting Rito's male pride and thus making his current love life more complicated. With the sign of competition, Rito came to a startling conclusion. Lala was hot. He never really paid attention to it. Lala was just there, someone that he knew how she felt, and in some part of himself gave him a bit of an ego boost. Now though, he became aware of the attractive girl that was hanging off him. In order to clear his head, he decided to take a walk, and as luck would have it, he ran into a couple-infested park, and to his shock, he spotted Haruna and Ren. That's where the misunderstanding started to happen. The next day after that, Rito confronted Ren to what exactly happened at the park, and it just so happened that Riza and Mio decided to add their own sense into the Ren versus Rito fight. They had to kiss Lala. Of course, Rito sure as hell didn't want to do it. He had a girlfriend, for crying out loud, but at the same time he did not want to lose to Ren. So, with his options severely limited, he chose to confide and persuade the only other male he knew he could trust. Not Sarayama. Naruto. He didn't have a girlfriend, and there was nothing stopping him from actually doing it aside from actually knowing Lala and knowing what it was intended for. That being said, it didn't stop Mikan from elbowing him in his stomach for doing such a thing. It wasn't like Mikan was against it though. She herself had received a kiss either on purpose as a congratulation kiss or an accidental one. So now here they were, in a karaoke bar where Riza and Mio went to decide the final showdown would be. And to add injury to insult, they also invited Haruna, as an observant to watching her boyfriend, not that they knew what Rito did. Hey Lala, have you had your first kiss yet? Naruto asked. No, I haven't. Why? Lala replied. Off in the corner of his eye, he saw Ren suddenly pull back at that new information. He assumed it was because he would get Lala's first kiss and was fantasizing about it. Rito, however, was sweating as he knew, in his mind, how important a first kiss was, especially for a girl. He himself struggled with kissing his girlfriend. It's nothing. Just curious, Naruto said, getting a nod from Lala. The whole ride was pretty much a bust as Ren could not move towards Lala as some kind of bad luck hit him and he kept bumping and tripping on the way. The karaoke bar was an interesting experience. Riza and Mio were a surprisingly good duet, and it was quite funny to watch Rito and Haruna trip over themselves trying to share a microphone. Just as it was, Mikan was a great singer, though it was mostly due to her confidence that she powered through her song. It was then that Lala wanted to do a duet, and Ren immediately jumped on the chance. Looking for a chance, he accidentally destroyed the additional mic. Yua. My hand slipped. Ren yelled out, please tell me he didn't just do that. Mikan groaned, while Haruna, Mio and Riza looked stricken while Rito looked pissed off. Then there's no other choice, Lala-chan. Let's sing together with this mic. Bring your face closer to it, Ren urged Lala. Oi, Ren. Ren heard from behind him. What? He said, turning around before standing completely still. There was a dark aura around Naruto. If that itself wasn't scary enough, his eyes were shining, like a flashlight was coming out of it. You didn't just destroy that equipment, did you? He asked, his voice an octave lower. Aye, Ren stuttered. You're going to pay for it, right? Hi. I am very sorry. Ren stuttered out. Naruto was freaking scary. Wow, Naruto-chan really knows how to take charge, huh? Riza pointed out. He is popular with everyone in school though, Mio stated. You know what, I was going to do this discreetly but I need to let off some steam, Naruto said out loud, getting everyone confused. Lala. Naruto turned to said person who looked confused. What is MMPH? She started saying before she felt something pressing on her lips. Naruto pressed his lips forcefully on hers. His hands wrapped around her back and head in order to deepen the kiss. Lala herself was shocked at the sudden action but couldn't find the strength to express it as she couldn't resist the pleasure she was getting from Naruto's passionate kiss. Her mind was going numb. All she could think about was enjoying the taste of his lips. 10 seconds, 20, there were no signs of the lips letting go. Naruto decided to go a bit further, as he remembered what a fuss his wife made years after their first kiss that she wished it was more magical. It was a clumsy first kiss for both of them. He refused to remember that one. He decided to add a little more oomph into it. Lala's eyes widened before she slumped against Naruto's body, totally out of it. Naruto removed his lips from Lala's, revealing a trail of saliva attached to both of them. Wiping his mouth and hers, he set her down and turned to a gaping, flushed audience. Wow. Mio muttered. That was hot, Riza stated. TCH. You owe me for this one. Mikan muttered, looking at Naruto with a glare. Rito and Haruna were both red in the face, but Naruto could see that they were both fidgeting, mainly their lower body parts. Ren looked like his world just shattered into a million tiny pieces. Looks like I won. Naruto couldn't help but say, showing that he already knew about the little game between Ren and Rito. He immediately separated from Lala in order to calm himself down. Crap. I didn't think that would set me off that badly, Naruto thought. He had to curse his current body for that. Although he was no stranger to the touch of a woman, his current body was still a teenager's, which meant that while he could control it to an extent, he could still be set off into a sexual high. He'd already had a few close calls but nothing as intense as he just did. Sometimes he wished he was in his dimension again. Getting laid was so much easier, especially after the war. Anyways, who's next? Naruto said, pointing at the mic in his hand. Nighttime. The day ended with Lala waking up and acting like she did not just pass out from Naruto's kiss, although she did avoid his eyesight for the rest of the trip. When questioned how in the world he pulled it off, he said it was instinct because technically it was something he learned in his past life. He and his wife were awfully busy at the start of their marriage, so in order to keep up and keep the fire going, Naruto tried his damn best to convey the feelings in his chest to his wife as fast as he could. That kiss was, in his wife's own words, magical, which led to her complaining of their first kiss. He shut her up with more kissing. Eventually it became a habit to kiss like that. Ren seemed to look at him with discontent, but chose not to act on it, after reflecting on his actions, and he admittedly saw he was being kind of an ass. That, and he did not want to piss off Naruto. At the moment, Naruto laid asleep, waiting for the next day to come. Off in the Yuki residence, Lala was tossing and turning in her sleep, but as hard as she tried, she could not get the feeling of Naruto's lips out of her mind. Absent-mindedly tracing her lips, she couldn't help but feel like she wanted to taste those lips one more time. Blushing at that thought, she once more tried again to go to sleep. It would take another 10 minutes before her heart even started calming down. The end. Now we will see you in the next video.